It's weird that we're here. Hey, it's Romania Black. And yeah, it's weird that we are on Vinland Saga episode 24. We're at the season finale. What? So, I am recording this a little bit ahead of time only because I have to be out of town next weekend and I wanted to get this recorded so that it would be able to be out in time for Tuesday. For next week, but I am recording this a little bit ahead of time. So any comments that I receive that I feel for episodes 23 and 24 that I feel need to be carried over into January, I'm going to file those away. I'm going to write them down, make a big old sticky note and be like, bring these up in season 2 and we'll just start from there. So I do have a couple comments before we start, but yeah, we're on the season finale. It's kind of crazy. I feel like I just started the series only like a month ago and it's been several months. But the good news is I'm not sad because the new season's going to come out in January, which is not going to be that far off. It's only going to be 12 weeks. It's going to go by really quickly, I'm sure. So I'm not sad about it, but I am really curious how we're going to end this season because when we left off at the end of this last episode, Thorfinn will maybe be following Leif. Don't know if he's going to leave with Leif or if he's going to stick around and try to fight Askeladd again. Askeladd is, I will talk about his name. Askeladd is potentially standing there in front of King Swin. Is he going to be attacked? Is he going to be ordered to do something? What's going to happen there? Does King Swin have some secret like red wedding thing planned with Canute? What's going down? It's the season finale, so what are we going to do with that? And I honestly, a part of me, I'm torn because a part of me is like, okay, Thorfinn's going to leave with Leif and that's going to be the end of the season and he's going to go off on his own and do his own thing. Part of me thinks it's going to happen. Another part of me is like, is Leif going to die? Is he going to get attacked before that happens? And then Thorfinn ends up sticking around. I don't know. Is Askeladd going to get killed in this season finale? I hope not, because even though Askeladd's an antagonist, I love him as a character. I don't want him to die yet. Is Canute going to get killed? Is Swin going to get killed? What's Floki going to do? What's Thorkel going to do? There's all these question marks, right? And we're leaving off from this episode to starting back up in January. So I'm like, okay. But I do have some comments before we start, before we get into this. Adam Young had a really great comment about Thorfinn, saying that we were talking about Thorfinn being a protagonist and being kind of distant or you not being able to connect to Thorfinn. And Adam Young brought up a really good point that Thorfinn is kind of like the main character in The Great Gatsby. And I was like, yeah, I'm an English major. So I was like, oh yeah, F. Scott Fitzgerald's story, The Great Gatsby, the main character, he is like, you see everything from his perspective, but he's a pretty stagnant character. He doesn't really change. He doesn't really go through any major developments. He's just kind of a fly on the wall, a first-person observer, and we see everything through his perspective. Whereas the character that we follow the most, even though he's not the main character, is Gatsby himself, is Jay Gatsby. And so I feel like Askeladd's kind of the Jay Gatsby of Vinland Saga. He really is. We follow him around and get details about his life and how complicated and layered his character is. But Thorfinn's just kind of stagnant. And again, like I said in the last episode, I feel like this last episode 23 may be a turning point for Thorfinn's character, that maybe he's going to start getting some development and that will carry over into the second season. I don't know. That makes me a little worried because I feel like that means Askeladd's going to die, but it could leave it open to where Askeladd stays alive and Thorfinn starts to get some development leading up for them to face each other one more time, right? I feel like there's not going to be any more like random scuffles between Askeladd and Thorfinn. The next time they battle, if they do battle, it's going to be to the death. I just see that coming, right? So there's that. But yeah, so I really like that comment. Thank you, Adam, for saying that. Killer Queen 2000 talked about Askeladd and Thorfinn likely had many duels before. This we've only seen like a handful of them, but they brought up the really good point that no, the way that Askeladd was so frustrated in episode 22, you would think that no, this has happened multiple times over and over again, and he just finally gets fed up with it, and he's like, I'm just done. Bye. And that's probably the case. Also, I can't remember if it was Killer Queen or if it was someone else, but they made note that I might have been saying Askeladd's name wrong this whole time. That it might be Ashladd because Askeladd means, from the ashes. I'm going to probably stick with Askeladd because no one else has corrected me yet. But if I say Ashladd, just testing the waters, no, that is why. And then Edgar and Minot, I was really glad in the Discord because we were talking about episode 23 And Edgar was like, you know, the jail cell scene in episode 23 was like an anime only thing. And at first I was like, what? And they were like, oh, did I spoil you? And I'm like, no, it's fine. I was just so floored because it's one of my favorite scenes in the whole episode. And I was like, that was all anime only? That wasn't the mangaka's intent? That changes everything. And I was kind of like spiraling. And then Minot came in and was like, hold on. Minot came in with like a cape on and was like, wait a minute. Because Edgar was like, well, I don't know for sure. Sorry. And I was like, no, it's fine. I just, I'd already done the discussion, so it wasn't spoiling anything for that. But Minot came in and said that what happened was the mangaka came back and worked with the animation studio and told them to include the jail cell scene with Leaf. And I was like, okay, I'm okay with that. Because I was like, if that whole jail cell scene was an anime only thing, then the animation studio took some liberties, because that is like a character developing moment. It's like a bonding moment between Leaf and Thorfinn. It could have implications to their character relationship later on in the series. So I was like, why would you include something so big and seemingly important and for it to be filler? But then when Minot was like, no, the mangaka wanted them to include it, I was like, okay. So Edgar and I were guessing that there's a chance that the mangaka just didn't include it and then thought back and was like, I really wish we had done that. So I'm curious to see if that's going to tie into like a character choice in this episode. And the mangaka was like, I need something to kind of back that up in the anime that I couldn't include in the manga because of time constraints or whatever. So that's fascinating. I'm really excited to see where that goes in terms of how that's going to lead Thorfinn's character. Because that scene was pivotal. And I was like, that was filler, but no, it was not filler. Just so you know. So thank you guys so much. But if I get any other comments that will tie in for episodes 23 and 24, my plan is to incorporate them into the comments for the season premiere for season 2. So I'm just going to save them. I've got my notebook. I'm just going to mark a page and be like, these are my Vinland Saga comments to start out with season 2, and we'll just go from there. I am excited by the prospect to read it all, to watch it all week to week with you. That's going to be exciting. I'm really excited about that. This is going to be a cool experience, right? I'm going to be doing that with several shows in the spring, so it's going to be something different, and I'm pretty stoked about it. But we'll see, right? So in any case, I hope y'all are excited. I am, to see what the heck is going to happen in this final episode. But we are going to start episode 24 of Vinland Saga, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. I was expecting a red wedding in this final episode, but that is not exactly what I thought. Oh, I'm kind of with Thorfinn. No, I don't want Askeladd to be dead. That's so sad. That's so freaking sad. Damn it. I really thought he was gonna make it to season 2. I really thought Thorfinn. I thought Thorfinn. I didn't think Thorfinn was gonna leave with Leaf. When he was on that boat looking at that bird flying away, we'll talk about it in the episode, but it just seemed like too much. And for a split second, you think that Thorfinn's gonna go off with Leaf. You're like, no, he's gonna do it. It's gonna be okay, right? You think it's gonna be all right. And the moment that Thorfinn saw that bird, I was like, oh, well. And then the moment that Leaf's like, we're just waiting on the others to get back, I'm like, he's not gonna sit there and wait. Thorfinn is like, he's like a damn dog. He won't stay put in one place. He had to go sniff out where Askeladd was, and oh, I'm really sad that Askeladd's dead. I really am. I really loved his character. I'm so sad that he's dead. Ugh. And the sad thing is that I can't cry. I'm too hyped up on adrenaline to cry. And just the way that Askeladd set all of it up, and it all makes sense. It makes sense on multiple levels. And Thorkel and Knut's role in it, and Askeladd and everything with the king, and it's such good writing because it all makes sense. It's all in character. It all fits with everything we've established with Askeladd. My only hope is that, like we've seen Thor's and flashbacks with Thor's throughout all of this, my only hope is that maybe we'll see Askeladd in flashbacks, or Thorfinn will meet people that knew Askeladd and will tell him about him, or Canute will meet people that knew Askeladd and will tell him about him. My only hope is that we'll encounter characters who have previously known Askeladd and will talk about him. Because you get this big reveal of his actual name, Lucius Artorius. You get the big reveal of his name, and you're like, oh man, this is gonna go somewhere, and it goes somewhere, all right. And then you're like, shit, no. I can't believe he actually killed Swin. I thought Harold was gonna get involved. I had all these ideas. And so first of all, thank you all for not spoiling me on any of these, because this episode, it was like, oh my God. And then Thorfinn, like, what are they gonna do with Thorfinn? And we don't get to find out. We don't get to find out what they're going to do with Thorfinn. That's the thing. We don't get to find out. So we'll have to theory craft at the end of this. And that'll be like our theory crafting to prep for season 2. Because we don't get to find out, right? And the question is the knife that he dropped the one that was his father's? Or was it the one that he got from the soldier? Okay. Let's talk about this episode because, oh my God, this is an amazing episode. I love this so much, but this is my favorite episode of the series. And it's like the end of the prologue. This is the end of the prologue. You think that episode 8 is the end of the prologue, or episode 6, because you get that whole first 6 episodes with Thorfinn, and then you get more into Askeladd and Canute and all that after that. But no, this was all just the prologue, setting up all your characters, setting up everything. I know that the manga is ending this year, supposedly. We were talking about that in the Discord, that supposedly they think the manga is going to end this year. So I'm wondering if we're going by the Japanese literary structure, if it's a 4-act structure, if there's like going to be 4 seasons worth for Vinland Saga, and this was season 1, which was the intro, the prologue, and then we'll have 3 more seasons. If that's where the story's headed, and that's what the point is. That's just insane, right? I feel like it's to my benefit that I'm not a history major, because I feel like if you were a history buff, you could probably see where an end point to this story would be, but I don't want to know these things, and I'm not a history person, so that's probably to my benefit as a reactor, that I don't look into like what historically happens to Canute and the others, right? But oh my God, yeah, we just cut right into the hall with Swin, right? Just, man, what a chess game. What a chess game between Askeladd and Swin. And finally Askeladd's like, just screw it. You know? He was like, But he got pushed into a corner, and what choice did he have? He's like, what can I do? He's like, what can I do? How can I protect my country from these fools? So, how can I protect my country from these fools? So the thing of it is that Askeladd, like, Canute figures it out. Canute's like, Askeladd's whole thing is I want to have my cake and eat it too. But there's only one way that's going to happen, and that's that I'm going to have to die, right? So in Askeladd's case, his whole thing is that he wants to protect Wales. That's his mother's country. That's the country that he is from. He wants to protect Wales. That's primary objective number 1. The other thing that he wants to do is have Canute on the throne, because that is going to enable that to happen. If Canute's on the throne, then Wales will be protected, because they started that pact, they've started that alliance. He's like, I know that Canute will honor that because he sees the benefit of it. He's going to honor that. He's not his father. And so I need him on the throne for that to happen. So Askeladd's trying to figure out, how can I have both things? How can I get both of what I want? And he's like, I can't have them going to war with Wales. That will not work. And so he's like, what do I do? How do I stop this from happening? And so then as reward for saving the prince, you're going to get 50 pounds worth of silver. That's also kind of like such a bitch move by Swin, because it's like, you don't get 50 pounds of gold for saving the prince. You would think the prince being like, you know, the upper echelon of people you could save, like the greatest thing you could do for the kingdom would be saving the prince. You'd think that'd be a gold reward package, but it's almost like Swin saying, well, Canute's the second son. He's not Harold. So you get the second prize. You get the silver prize instead. And it's like, it's just such kind of like a slap to the face kind of, in a way, both to Canute and to Askeladd. And they're like, accept it with gratitude. And that's when the king is like, I heard you fought hard to save Canute. That accept my gratitude. And Askeladd's like, yes, thank you for the reward. Of course. And then anytime the king opens his eyes, it's kind of the scariest things. He's like, I have high expectations of you in our battle to subjugate Wales. Like he's just taunting him. He's just taking the knife and just kind of pricking him with it. He's like, see? He's like, I'm going to make you bow to me and either bow to me and do as I say or reveal yourself as a traitor. And Askeladd knows it. He's like, well, shit. He's like, he's caught on. And you can see in his eyes, he's like, that sly old fox noticed. Well, him and Floki, but I'm sure that they know. So Askeladd, he knows that Swin is onto him. And at that point, I'm sure Askeladd was like, well, shit, he knows that something's on there. He's going to try to kill me. And he probably thinks that Swin is going to try to do the same thing. And at that point, there's a good chance that Swin might have even killed him after this meeting. That's the sad thing. The heartbreaking thing is that Askeladd probably saw the writing on the wall and he was like, he knows that I have a connection to Wales and he's probably going to try to get rid of me the first chance he can get. Because he probably thinks that I'm trying to do something with Canute to overtake him and overturn his reign to benefit Wales. He's like, so damn it. So yeah, at this point, Askeladd's fate is sealed. It's like the moment that he noticed that Askeladd had some connection to Wales, it was over. Something bad was going to happen. And so Askeladd's like, how do I do damage control? What can I do? And so at that point, he's like, well, then fine. He's like, with all due respect, I think that your plan is stupid. And so he's like, I'm going to try. And Canute's like, why are we not following the plan here? He's like, are you sure that your plan to subjugate Wales is a sound decision? Or the best decision is how he phrases it. And then we cut to the intro. Mm-hmm. So yeah, at that point, he kind of just, he tries to save Wales through negotiation. He tries to save it through negotiation, right? He makes the argument that Wales is not worth the cost. He makes the argument, he's like, well, Wales, he's like, they're not a very good hardy countryside. It's pretty bad. You don't want to go there. It's perilous. I like the metaphor he said where he was like, you don't want to go to war. You don't want to take your horses off the edge of a cliff for a rabbit. He's like, why would you want to sacrifice all your important pieces for something that's not worth your time? So he's trying to like downplay Wales. He's trying to downplay Wales so that they'll leave it alone. They're like, you know what? We got bigger fish to fry. Go after Ireland. Don't bother with Wales. They're not worth it, right? And so I want to put Swin and Floki here, right? I'm going to put Swin and Floki there. And then I want to have our boy Canute. So, damn Canute. I want to have Canute on here. And then while we keep up with the theme, I'm going to have Thorkel here. Our players on the stage, right? The end of the prologue. Damn. We have our players on the stage. And then poor Thorfinn, right? We're going to have him right here. Thorfinn, damn it. Okay. So yeah, at this point, Swin is like, what are you trying to do? He's onto Askeladd, and he tries to goad him with Wales. Tries to get him riled up with Wales and saying like, oh, you'll be great. You'll be instrumental in helping us subjugate them, and just trying to get a rise out of him, right? And so Askeladd tries to downplay Wales. He's like, no. We don't need to go after them. It's a waste of our time, our men, our energy. He's like, it will be a fruitless battle for our army. And you could just tell that Swin is not having it. He's like, why are you objecting to me? And he's like, please reconsider the matter. And Canute's like, why are you stirring up trouble, right? So Canute, go over here with him. Canute being like, why did Askeladd not follow the plan. Because, and the reason is, Canute does not realize just how deep Askeladd is embedded into Wales. He's like, we have a plan to overthrow the king, but we can't do it now in front of everybody, so let's just play the part, act cool, and do something later. What are you trying to do, Askeladd? Like, Canute just doesn't get what they're doing. He said, you weren't going to stir up trouble. And everybody's like, so that's Askeladd. And they're like, I can't believe he actually objected to the king in front of him, like out loud, right? And he looks over to Canute and he says, I'm sorry, Your Highness. When it comes to Wales, I'm not going to back down. He's like, I believe in you to be the future king. He's like, but I got to protect my people. My homies back in Wales, I got to save them. He's like, I believe in you, but I got to do my best to save them. He's trying to have his cake and eat it too. And he's like, I can't back down and let him threaten Wales. He's like, I can't do it. Mm-mm. And the king's like, well, explain. And that is one thing about Swin, is that he wants to have as many pieces. He wants to have access to as many pieces on the board as possible, right? So he wants intel. He wants intel before he makes a decision, right? He wants to know his enemy and know their motivations and know their reasoning. And so he asks Askeladd to explain. He's just trying to figure out, what are you doing? Why are you telling me this? And Askeladd's like, well, thank you. Here, maybe we can do this the diplomatic way. And he's like, we've been fighting England for 10 years. It's been a decade. He's like, so your men are tired. We should recover our people and focus on our own land and our own people right now. You know, and then he's like, the terrain in Wales is perilous. He's like, it would be bad to send our soldiers who are weak and exhausted to a place that is not suited for combat. Right? And I like the way they frame Wales. They're like, it would be like whipping our horses to make them jump off a cliff just to catch a single rabbit. It's not worth the cost. And so everybody, and I like that the people are like, he's right. Like the people there in the room, they're just like, yeah, why would we want to do that? But nobody had the gall to stand up and say anything, right? So they're kind of all on board with him. Like everybody's like, and like one guy's like, I'm glad he said it. Like they were all thinking the same thing. They're like, why are we going to go to Wales? You know, they're like, glad somebody spoke up. Yeah, so the people, I kind of attribute that to the people not immediately rising up against Askeladd at first. They were kind of like, this guy knows what's up. But then Floki, and I like that Thorkel says he's good at talking. So, and Gunner's just sitting there like, we didn't get anything out of Gunner in this. Gunner was like, I thought we'd get like some kind of betrayal with him. No, I thought he'd stand up and try to do something shady, but no, we don't get anything with him. But Thorkel, at this point, I have the feeling that Thorkel is going to take Floki's place. I just have a feeling that Thorkel is going to become Canute's right-hand man because they're all entangled up in this together and is going to take Floki's place. I could be wrong. We could find out otherwise. But he understands the game. That's the thing about Thorkel. He gets the game and what Askeladd's doing. He's like, he's talking his way out of this. That's the one amazing thing about Thorkel in this episode is there were so many shots of Thorkel that were so sincere and somber. And realizing that Thorkel, he is not dumb. He gets exactly what's going on. And it's like, ugh. And so when he just leaves Thorfinn, we'll talk about it, but I'm like, damn it, Thorkel, your nephew. And he's like, I just like, oh God. We'll talk about it. He's like, he's good at talking. And then Floki comes in, and Floki's like, this isn't about conquest. Floki's like, hold on now. So Floki makes the argument that this is about teaching the pecking order. This isn't about conquering Wales. They're like, we don't care about Wales. It's an infertile land, like you said. We don't need it. But it's the fact that they're trying to stand up to our king, and we won't handle that insubordination. So we need to go make an example of Wales so that other countries will get the drift that you don't mess with us or talk bad about us, because then we'll come and slaughter your people. So for Floki, he's like, this isn't about taking it over to gain anything. We just can't ignore those who show disrespect for the king. And Askeladd's like, don't get the wrong idea. If that's what you're worried about, then let me be your messenger. And the moment he said that, I was like, Askeladd, you've screwed yourself. Because that's too convenient, right? Let me, this person who has a vested interest in whales be your messenger. It's like, if he had suggested that they send a messenger from somewhere else, and then later on he tried to worm his way in, it might not have been so suspicious. But at this point, Askeladd is so desperate to save his people that he offers to be a messenger and make them apologize. He's like, let me go over there. Not going to be suspicious at all. Let me go over there and talk to them, and I'll get them to apologize to you, and I can persuade the people of Wales, and we'll just solve this without any bloodshed. He's like, we can totally do this. We can do this rationally. Which, under any other ruler or any other group other than the Danes, might have worked. But this, as soon as he said that, I was like, the Danish people have been described here as not a negotiating or diplomatic type of people. They're kind of like conquerors. They just go in and fight, and then we'll solve problems later. And so the king, he kind of brings that up when he's like, are you telling me I need to show courtesy to them? He's like, wouldn't that belittle myself as the king to show courtesy to someone lower than me? And Askeladd's like, no. He's like, this country you just called a rabbit? That's the problem, is that he wants Wales to be seen as worthless, but at the same time, he's trying to say that we need their support. So he's creating a contradiction, and Swin is not dumb. He picks up on that instantly. He's like, you just told me these people aren't worth our time. Why do I care if they like us or not? What difference does that make? And Askeladd's like, and he's like, if you show courtesy, then they'll understand your generosity, and then they'll support you. He's like, they're going to be an asset to you. And he's just like, I don't make bunnies into assets, Like, Swin's just like, he sees through Askeladd really well there and gets what he's saying. And the fact that he walks towards Askeladd and everybody's like, and Canute just looks dead inside. At this point, Canute just looks like a shell, like, oh my God, my dad's walking towards him. This is really bad. What are we going to do? And Thorkel's like, hey, is he going to kill him? I love that Thorkel's like, is something going to happen? Well, he says, is he going to kill him? Yes, Thorkel, he is going to kill him. It's just not who you think. I love Thorkel's all excited. He wants to see a fight go down. He's always up for that. And then this whole scene where he just looks at him and narrows his eyes. The moment he smiled, I was like, oh, no. That's not good. That's not good at all. That's really bad. He's like, this is how a loyal vessel should act. And he's like, the greatest treasure anyone can ever offer a king is words of advice. My army is filled with loyal and brave men like this man. And everybody's just like, what? Like, it's that creepiness, right? And so Swin, he praises Askeladd. So he publicly praises Askeladd. But then, in secret, and I'm going to change that up there. In secret, he whispers to Askeladd, God, this part's so freaking good. Everybody's kind of like, what is he doing? And Thorkel's like, how boring. Thorkel, real quick, Thorkel just wants to fight, right? Thorkel wants a fight. And we'll establish that he really honestly wanted to fight with Swin, but Askeladd beat him to it, right? He's like, how boring. He just sits there and eats his pork chop. And Canute's like, this doesn't seem like my dad. This is weird. He's like, continue to lend me your aid. And then when he presses him like close to him, it's like anytime an antagonistic character hugs you, it's usually a bad thing. Usually something bad's about to go down. And I love that he looks at Askeladd. That look between the two of them, oh my God. I don't get a picture of that. He's just staring through Askeladd's soul. And he says, Wales or Canute, choose one. And Askeladd's face is like he just tenses up in that moment. Oh, it's such a good scene. It's such a good scene. He says Canute. And let me get this right. Get the marker right. Canute or Wales. And he says, choose. He's like, as long as you are alive, you can only have one. He's like, I'll let you serve my son and make him king, or I'll save your people, but you don't get both. He's like, no. He's like, and the sad thing about all of this, the sad thing about this decision is that the king was totally going to be on board with Askeladd killing his son. Was going to totally be on board. So we think. Now, whether he would be or not, or would have killed Askeladd later, and I think, my suspicion is that the king, he gave Askeladd an ultimatum. He told him, he's like, you choose. He says, honestly, I don't care about whales. He's like, no. He says, give me Canute's head and join me, and I'll let whales go free. So his ultimatum is that if you kill my son and join me, I'll free whales. Fine. He's like, you're serving my son. So he's like, I know you're smart and I know you're strong, but here's the deal. He's like, and I know you're trying to help my son become king, and you're a problem. You're a problem to me, and I don't want to have to deal with you anymore. But I know you're trying to help my son. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you kill Canute, I will set whales free. But, or you pick whales, or you can choose, you can set whales free if you kill Canute. But if you choose to stay with Canute, then I'm going to go to war with whales. So he's like, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get Canute to become king and kill me. Fine. You want to kill me? You stick with Canute. But we're going to play the long game, and I'm going to go to war with whales, and you're going to have to figure out how to do all that. Or I see my son as a threat, and you could help him become king, and that's a threat to me. So just go ahead and kill him and get him out of the way, and then I'll let your people go. And then that way, it's a win-win for Swyn either way. Swyn knows that either way he's got Askeladd by the balls. Because he's like, either way, Swyn wins in this scenario. If Askeladd kills Canute, well, that's the whole problem child the king had to start with. He's like, well, Canute's out of the way. Now Harold can become king if I die. Problem solved. And there's a very high likely chance that once he kills Canute, that king's going to go back on his word and still attack whales. And then Askeladd's got nothing to show for it except a dead prince, and his people are going to war. But he's also like, I'm going to win in this scenario too, because if you choose to stay with Canute, I'm still going to fight whales, and there's nothing you can do about it. So the king is banking on Askeladd being stuck in a corner and picking a decision that is going to benefit the king either way. It's going to benefit him one way or the other. And then Askeladd is just like, well, screw it. He's like, I've looked into who you are a bit. And this part here, if he had just said that, if he had just said to choose one or the other, then I don't know if if Askeladd would have killed him or not. Probably would have, but we can't know for sure. But it's this part here where he says, your mother really was a slave. He says, I guess that's why you're so caught up with whales. And in this line, the only merchandise that Wales produces, and his eyes, the way his eyes go, the only merchandise they produce is slaves. And that look from Askeladd is like, nope. That was you just done goofed. That was like, that's the button. That's the button you don't press. You don't press the slave button with Askeladd. That is his trigger. Thorfinn's trigger is talking about his father. Askeladd's trigger is talking about his mother. And you done goofed. And Askeladd just being like that, like the vein on his head and everything. And then we cut to Thorfinn. Of course we do. Cutting to Leif and Thorfinn. And Leif just being like, well, what do you think? It still sails. I've kept this ship after this entire time. It's the ship you've always wanted to sail on. That's the sad thing, is that Leif, and I'm going to put Leif up here too, is that Leif in all this, Leif is kind of just like Thorfinn. He's stuck in the past, right? He is very much stuck in the past. He has the old ship that he promised Thorfinn that he'd sail on, and you know that he kept that ship to like try to coax him to come back, to be like, no, you can come back. See, it's just like it was when you were a kid, right? He's just stuck in the past. And for a long time, for this entire season, that's where Thorfinn's been. Thorfinn's also been stuck in the past. He's been stuck in the past about his father and revenge. right? And there's a lesson that Askeladd tries to teach Thorfinn at the very end. He's like, look, he's like, I kept my ties to my mother in my past, and it ended up killing me. I couldn't let it go, and it ended up being the death of me. That tie to my mother ended up being what killed me because I just couldn't let her go, and I had to get revenge for her sake against the Danes. He's like, you need to get past that. There's more to life than that. It's so insane because it's suggesting that Thorfinn and Askeladd, they're both characters that have a lot of self-hatred. They had a lot of self-hatred, and he is a slave to his mother's dream. Just like Thorfinn is a slave to his father's revenge on his father. But both Askeladd and Thorfinn, they're so full of self-hatred that they're such similar characters. And Askeladd's trying to be like, move on. I couldn't. Look what it's done to me. He's like, I became the very thing I hated. He's like, I became a Viking, which is the thing that I hated the most. He's like, if you keep on with this same path, Thorfinn, you're going to become the same thing that you hated as well. But you can't blame Leif for trying to get him out of there, right? And Thorfinn, like, his nose and everything, like, I liked that the mangaka shows that the bruise is, like, anytime you get, like, a bruise on your nose, your eye, it slowly starts to spread across your face as it heals itself. And so he's like, Thorfinn's slowly getting better. But yeah, and he gets him on the boat. He's like, oh, we'll wait until Mord and the others return. And the moment he said that, I was like, Thorfinn's going to leave. He's going to get out of there. He's not staying. He's like, and then Thorfinn looking at that bird, right? He looks at the bird, and then it flies away. And Thorfinn's just like, ugh. And you just see it. And it's the craziest thing, right? It's the craziest thing. Because Thorfinn, he sees the bird fly away, and he's like, is this really going to set me free? Is running away... He's like, I'm not a bird. I can't fly away from my problems. He's like, is it really going to set me free to leave and run away? Am I always going to regret not finishing what I started? And I've got to go back and do it. He's like, I got to go back and find Askeladd and just see what's happening. Make sure that he's got things in order and just go. Thorfinn, he's like, I can't leave. He's still so tied to it, right? And there's so many what if scenarios. It's like, what if he had gone? What if he had left? The thing of it is, if he had left with Leif, then Askeladd would have died anyway, because the moment Askeladd killed the king, he knew he was going to die. The moment that happened, he knew it was going to happen. And so Askeladd would have died anyway. I think Canute still would have become king. It still would have all gone according to plan, except now Canute has like the badass scar on his cheek from Thorfinn. We'll talk about that. But yeah, Thorfinn had just left with Leif. I think if he had left with Leif, he would have regretted it. Because he wouldn't have gotten that sense of closure with Askeladd. That's the thing that Thorfinn has wanted throughout this entire series. He's wanted to close that chapter of his life, right? He's stuck in the past and in this loop, this endless loop of revenge. But at the same time, he just wants closure with Askeladd before he can move on. Before he can move on. He just wants closure, right? He just wants closure before he can move on. So there's that, right? And he can't get that until he settles everything with Askeladd. And then as soon as Leif was just like, where'd you go, lad? As soon as he was turning around like talking, I was like, classic trope. I'm like, you're going to turn around and he's going to be gone. And he is. And poor Leif, he's just like, Thorfinn. He's like, where are you? And I really feel bad for Leif because he's just tried to get that kid to leave, and you can tell how sad he is. He's just like, ugh. And Thorfinn's completely gone. So now the big question is with Leif, like, what is he going to stick around? Is he going to stay to get him? Because we don't know. The season ends before we get resolution. So we're going to find out in season 2 what happened with Leif. Did he leave? Did he take Thorfinn? Did he stick around? Like, are they going to pick up where it left off at? So frustrating. But yeah. And then Askeladd's like, okay, you've backed me into a wall. Askeladd's like, I'm damned if I do. I'm damned if I don't. The king is smart. He's figured me out. At this point, I'm screwed either way. So, Askeladd, being the insanely intelligent person that he is, here's the thing. The whole time, his mother's words were to serve Artorias, serve the king to the very end, be his staff, and sacrifice yourself for him. And so, at that point, Askeladd decides that he's going to have both. He's going to save his people, and he's going to serve Canute. So he's going to save Wales and act as the staff and sword for Canute. We're all going to set the grand stage now. And the fact that he comes to terms with this, like, within seconds, it's like, oh my God. And he just tells Swin off. He's just like, and I love that look on his face where he's like, here we go. That it's the look, it's no longer like the cocky look that he's had before. That like smirk that he's had in all those missions, that smile that he's put on, we finally figure out it's all been an act. And in this moment, I think he's the most like Thor's in this moment, and the most like a true warrior in the act that he puts on here, where he has that look on his face, like there's no smirk, there's no acting. He's just like, this is it. I'm going to die, but I'm going to die saving my people and saving the rest of the country. And he says, I hate the way your face looks. Which is like such an insult. He's like, I hate your face. He's like, I'm not going to let that crown rest atop a head like yours. You don't look like a king. And everybody's just, and I love Swin's like, excuse me? And Swin has a very Canute-like expression on his face, right? And Canute's like, oh my God. And everybody's like, he just insulted the king, called him ugly. He's like, what did you just say? He's like, yep. And then he cracks his neck. He's like, yep, here we go. It's time to put on the act, my final act. Are you deaf, you old man? I said, how dare an ugly old man like you wear something so shiny? Like, just, and then he's like, oh. He says, it's not what the face of a king looks like. And everyone there, and the thing of it is that Askeladd, when there was like these 4 guards here, I'm like, Askeladd can take on all these guys. We foreshadowed this back with Thorkel's army and Askeladd taking on 50 men. These 4 guys are nothing. And I like Canute's in the back, like, wait a minute. He's like, don't move, guards. The king is within reach of my sword. Mm-hmm. And I love that big sweat drop, like, goes down Swin's face. It's so damn good. And they're like, Ora, he's serious. And he looks over to Canute. And Canute's like, Askeladd, no. Like, Canute figures it out, right? Canute realizes what he's doing. He looks at Canute, and he realizes Askeladd's plan. He knows in that moment what he's planning to do. And Thorkel says, no, King Swin is mine. So Thorkel he wanted to kill Swin. Like, he just revealed he was a traitor, like right there at the dinner table, and everybody's like surprising no one. You know, Thorkel just being like, no, I want to fight him. And Canute says, don't move. And at that point, Canute is on to the act. He says he's not acting normal. Don't provoke him. He knows exactly what Askeladd is doing. And he realizes that this is the only way. And Askeladd's like, and it's not until Canute says that he raises a sword to Swin. Because Canute's like, he looks at Canute like, Askeladd's like, are we on board with this? Do you get what I'm doing? And the moment that Canute stops Thorkel from advancing, that's the signal to Askeladd, like, yes, okay. You get what the game is now. Oh my God. And Swin's saying, put away your sword and I'll forgive you for this offense. It's like, yeah, he's not gonna forgive you. No way. He's like, forgive me. He's like, don't push your luck, you savage. As punishment for mocking my family and my people, you deserve to die. And then he says, this is my last warning. Put your sword away, Askeladd. And then he's like, that's my nickname. Like you said. But the thing of it is, he's like, you said that I didn't have a name because I was a slave son. He's like, no. I'll tell you the name my mother gave me, my real name. I love it. Lucius Artorius Castus. Oh my god, what a kingly name! So his name was Lucius. Lucius Artorius Castus. So his mother was Lydia Castus. Oh my god. Yep, Lucius Artorius. And like the pride that he says when he says his name, like there's such pride in his voice saying that full name. I am the legitimate king who deserves to rule over the land of Britannia. And at that point, that should have been a foreshadowing as well, because Canute asked him in episode 22, he was like, you should be the king. You're smart. Why don't you want to take over? And Askeladd's like, you know why? Like, that's not going to work, right? He's like, that's the thing. Askeladd knew from the start of this, he's like, I don't have the influence. I don't have the bloodline that you have, Canute. I don't have the support of the people. He's like, I could not just start a coup with 500 men? No way. Would not work. He's like, no, you have to become the king because you're the one with the bloodline and the one that people are going to follow. That's why this has to happen. And so when he said he was going to rule over Britannia, that was the sign too that he's lying. It's all an act. It was all just to make Canute be forced to kill him to save face. He's basically making it to where Canute has to kill him in order for Canute's legitimacy as king to be established amongst everyone in that hall. All the elders, everyone, all the people are gathered there. It's the perfect audience for this performance. And then, he just kills him. And Floki's like, now go. And then, Floki threw the wine glass at him to distract him to let the troops have an advance. But nope. He just kills the king right there, just beheads him like it was nothing. And oh my god, that shot of the crown and the blood in the crown with Canute in the center of it. Oh my gosh. And that's such a callback to the OP where Canute was on the throne, seeing the blood slash across him. Damn, oh my god. But yeah, and Canute just being like, he actually did it. He actually killed my father. Like, I can't believe we did this right here and now. Was not expecting that at all. And he just swipes the blood off and is like, nope. Done and done. Done and done! And so then he's like, yeah. And he looks so proud. He's like, I feel better now. He's like, I'm glad we got that accomplished. Good day. And that's the halfway point of the episode, right? And so the crown is on the ground. And he's like, all right. And he looks up to Canute like, now it's your turn. I played my part. Now do what you have to do. And the way that he looks at Canute, he's like, come on. He's like, I'm going to have to die now. Save my people. I've done you a favor. I've made you king. He's like, I've just made you king, sir. Now, let's finish the deal. And Canute, the way Canute looks at him, the way that Canute looks at him, like, you could tell Canute, he trusted Askeladd, and he really liked Askeladd, and he wanted him to stay by his side, but he's like, come on, sir. He's like, he's like, we can't have it, he's like, I'd like to live too, but that's not how this is going to go down. Ah, damn, this is so good. And then Floki's like, what are you standing there for? Engage. And then Canute says, engage. This man is the criminal who murdered the king. Kill him. He plays the part. It's like Canute knows the political sphere and Askeladd's arranged it all. And meanwhile, Thorfinn's just like, where'd everybody go? He's like, what's going on? And he goes around to the hall and he's like, what's happening? Oh, Thorfinn, honey. And him like going around and jumping over to see. Now, he did have the one sword behind him, so maybe that's his father's sword that he didn't use. And he sees the Askeladd's just sitting there, just killing people left and right. And he's like, what is he doing? Like, what's going on? He's like, yeah, Thorfinn's like, I don't understand. Why is he doing this? What is he doing? That idiot! Ugh. So, Thorfinn's like, I've tried so hard to make it to where nobody kills you but me. So Thorfinn, he like shows up and doesn't understand anything going on. Right? That's the sad thing, is that Thorfinn missed all of it. Thorfinn doesn't know it's an act. He doesn't know politics. He doesn't know the theater. He doesn't know any of this. So he all he sees is that these guards are fighting Askeladd, and Thorfinn, being a literal puppy wanting food, is like, how can this happen? No. And then, God, the gore. Like, just Askeladd slaying people left and right. To the point where everybody starts to leave. They're like, we ain't fighting this madman anymore. And him just laughing. I feel like it's just straight out of the manga. Where he says, what's wrong? Who wants to die next? Step up. The King of Britannia is going to kill you himself. Oh my God. And he's like, don't be afraid. Surround him. And here's the thing. Thorkel's in on the act too. Because Thorkel's like, come on, what is this? Like, he knows that this is just something as well. Or at least I think so. We'll have to go back to that here in a second. But yeah, Askeladd just beating everybody up left and right. Being like, die. Oh. And yeah, everybody's like, get out of here. And meanwhile, while they're trying to push their way out, Thorfinn's trying to push his way in. Oh, honey. Or he's like, damn it, get out of my way. And yelling at him. Oh, that one shot. That shot of Askeladd with the sword. That's such a good shot. That may be the thumbnail. Where you can just see his eyes and the bloodshed. Mm-hmm. I just love that Thorkel's like, he's like, this is stupid. I just love how upset Thorkel is, and Knut's just like just watching him. He's like, hold it in, Thorkel. It's not your turn yet. He's like, I don't care anymore. He's gone mad. Yeah, so he doesn't get it. I hate it when someone steals my prey. And Knut's like, he's not gone mad. No, he's putting on an act. So Thorkel didn't know, right? He's like, oh, what? He chose to save both me and Wales. And Thorkel's like, oh, he's only feigning madness in order to take blame for killing the king. And Thorkel instantly understands. He's like, oh. So Knut explains the act. He explains the act, and Thorkel understands. He's like, okay, gotcha. Because at the moment his face softens, and Knut's like, let him run wild for a bit, and then I'll let you put it to an end. And at that point, I do respect Thorkel for this. I respect Thorkel that Knut was going to have Thorkel kill him. He's like, he's putting on an act for now to make it look as horrible as possible. You know, he's gonna do that, and then I'm gonna have you kill him, and then that'll be the end of it. And I actually respect Thorkel for being like, you two have this game that you're playing. Why? I'm not gonna be a pawn in it. Thorkel's like, I do things because I want to do things. I'm not anybody's pawn or chess piece. No. And so I love that he tells him, he's like, no. He's like, I don't care. And he looks at Knut, and he takes that pork chop, and he's like, Thorkel. He says, I know he's your vassal, but a dog should be handled by his own master. Right? God, I love it. So I love Thorkel. He is not a chess piece. Not a chess piece. And he tells Knut to handle his own mess. That's the crazy thing. Again, by the end of this season, it's established that both Askeladd and Thorfinn are dogs. They're both dogs being used by their masters in a sense. In a sense, Askeladd, self-aware, knowingly, became a dog to Knut. He's like, I will dedicate myself, my loyalty to you, because I believe you have the potential to be a good king. He's like, so I'll be your dog. I'll do whatever you want me to. And I'll protect you no matter what. And Thorfinn, it's funny, you have a loyal dog and you have a feral dog, right? You have a wild dog and a domesticated dog. Like, the Askeladd knows what he has to do. He's self-aware of his role. He knows what he's dedicating himself to the cause for. He's totally on board with it. Thorfinn is a dog he's chasing after Askeladd, and Askeladd is a dog serving someone. So there is a difference there, right, between the two of them. But the fact that they're both kind of described as dogs in this series by the end, And Canute's like, oh, Thorkel's like, you've got to be the one to kill him. This is on you. This is your game. And just his face, Canute's face, like, I'm sorry, but his little grumpy face where he's like, fine, I'll do it. Like, just, I do love Canute's character so much because he realizes what he has to do. And he's like, okay. And then Askeladd, him just like laughing and coughing and just being like, what's wrong, Danes? And then Askeladd, and then Floki showing up. Floki showing up. And I like that his sword has like snakes engraved on it. But yeah, that shot of Floki like just battling with him. Oh my God. Saying, you bastard. Do you have any idea what you've done? And Askeladd's like, yeah, I know I killed the king. He's like, what are you talking about? I love that look on his face. Oh my God. I want to take all the screenshots of Askeladd because he's dead now and I won't get to do it anymore. He's like, I'm right here alive and well. He's like, you're the child of a slave. And Askeladd's like, oh, I love that there's a brief moment where Askeladd's like, you triggered me too. Okay, I'll kill you next. Oh my God. He's like, you swine. Is that how you talk to a king? He looks so much like Thorfinn in that moment because, yeah, just the parallels of them. That Askeladd was like, no. Askeladd's like, he told Thorfinn, he's like, you have too much anger and you let it control you. You don't channel it. Askeladd gets pissed several times in this episode, but he channels that anger and uses it to his advantage. He doesn't let himself be controlled by it, right? It's just... Oh my God. And that shot of him overpowering him, he's like, kneel down. I'll let you have the honor of kissing my shoes and then die. And meanwhile, Thorfinn's like Disney hopping over everybody's shoulders as they're trying to get out. Thorfinn. And there's a brief moment where he's like, Askeladd. And Askeladd turns to see him. Oh. And he says, stay back, Thorfinn. Oh. Like, don't get in the middle of this. And that's when he gets stabbed. And I thought it was by Floki. I thought that him getting distracted by Thorfinn was going to let Floki come up and stab him. That's what I thought happened. But in that moment, him telling Thorfinn to stay back. Ugh. It's the damnedest thing, right? Because we've debated back and forth about this the whole season. Like, did Askeladd and Thorfinn have like a father-son relationship in the most insane of ways? And at the end of this, I don't think it was a father-son relationship, but it definitely was the most twisted and messed up mentor-mentee relationship ever. Like, I don't think Askeladd, he says this is why I hate kids. I don't think Askeladd was a parental figure necessarily, but I do think that he was trying to teach Thorfinn something. He saw how similar Thorfinn was to him and was trying to teach him, like, don't become like me. Do something else. Don't be like me. Nah. Like, if you're going to become like me and get revenge, whatever, but then what? Like, don't become like me. So I thought it was more like a mentor-mentee relationship, especially at this point, but no, Floki gets kicked out of the way, and it's Canute that stabs him. Like, right there in the heart. Oh, like he knocked Floki aside. I think it speaks volumes that Floki couldn't put the... I am glad that Floki was not the one to deal the killing blow to Askeladd. Thank God, because I don't like Floki's character at all. I think he's a worm. So I'm glad that Floki did not get the killing blow. Instead, as Thorkel said, it's like, you need to be the one to kill him. So Canute, he deals the killing blow. He deals the killing blow to him. It's shallow, but it's effective. It's right where it had to be. And Canute's face, like, you could just tell he's so distraught. And he's like, I didn't want to have to do this. And Askeladd just stares at him. Like, is this the first time you've stabbed someone, Prince? The fact the first person the prince killed was Askeladd. It was his first kill. And the crazy thing is that way back, I think it was episode 16 maybe, like way back when Askeladd confessed that he killed Ragnar. Might have been even 18. Like way back when he confessed that he killed Ragnar, Canute had this look on his face like he wanted to kill Askeladd. And at that point, I was debating. I'm like, man, I was like, in season 2, I wonder if Canute's ever going to have to be put in a position where he'll have to kill Askeladd. And it's the funniest thing. He gets to swear vengeance. That's the thing. He gets to avenge Ragnar. That's in the craziest of ways. He avenges Ragnar. He avenges Ragnar because he let go. That's the thing. He let go of that whole situation with Ragnar. He let it go. He forgave Askeladd. He said, I'm not happy about it, but it doesn't change the fact that he's dead. We'll move forward. And the irony is that because Canute let it go and let go that path towards revenge for Ragnar, because he let it go, he actually gets to be the one to get revenge on Askeladd. But because Thorfinn didn't let it go, he doesn't get to get revenge. Instead, it's the person that did. In the most roundabout of ways. It's kind of amazing, right? That writing. And it's all to save both Askeladd's people and to protect Canute and his right to the throne. And the way he looks at Canute is just so soft. He's like, you did well. That is a fatherly look, right? He looks almost fatherly towards Canute. Like, you did it. You did what you needed to do. Like, he looks at him like, and then that's when he starts spitting up the blood. And Canute's like, oh my God. And then he falls into Thorfinn's arms. I couldn't. At this point, I was like, you're joking. You're joking. Falling into his arms. And he'd be like, Askeladd. And then everybody's like, hey. And they saw that Canute killed him. And Thorkel, that look on Thorkel's face, it speaks volumes. That look on Thorkel's face is like, yep. That's everything went according to plan. And then, yeah, just the look of Canute, everybody cheering and Canute with the sword. And he's about to faint, and Thorkel comes up behind him, and he's like, stand up straight. This part is important. Oh! That shot of Thorkel and Canute, like, Canute looks so ragged. Canute's just like, I just killed this man that I respected and that I admired and that was going to be by my side. I had to kill him, and it was the first time I've killed a person. And Thorkel's just like, damn, this was all, like, Askeladd gave his life so you could become king. Like, okay, respect. All right, like, that somberness, like, that panel is so, it's maybe one of my favorite in the entire series. It's so damn good. Oh my God. This moment on stage was created for you. And the way that Thorkel says it, like him supporting Canute. Being like, this moment was made for you. It makes you wonder how many times Thorkel has seen things like this play out and has seen moments like this happen before. And so he kind of understands the politics of it. Because it's funny, it fleshes out Thorkel's character a lot because you just assume he's this big meathead that likes battles, which is true. But then you come to find out that no, Thorkel actually knows a lot of what's going on. And he gets politics. He understands how this stuff works. And it's kind of he's like, don't waste it. He's like, Askeladd died to create this moment for you. Don't you waste it. And then meanwhile, Thorfinn is like, Baldy, what you doing sleeping over there? The saddest thing is Thorfinn had no clue. He was clueless going into this episode what was happening. Nobody told him. Nobody gave him the memo. And the blood's starting to spread out. He's like, how could you let them stab you there, you baka? Like, he's like, that was too easy. And yeah, Thorfinn's like, he's like, you died too easy. He's like, why did you let yourself die? Thorfinn doesn't get that it was an act. He's like, you're stronger than that. Why would you let him stab you like that? And Askeladd's like, God, baka. And he's like, shut up. He's like, you're going to ruin it. He's like, let me rest. He's like, get up. We've got to run away. Like he was going to try to get Askeladd to run away with him. Oh. He came to get him out of the situation, to run away with him. It's so messed up. He's like, you're a fool. Just hurry up and do it. He's like, you wanted to kill me this whole time, right? He's like, I'll give it to you. I'll let you kill me. I'll give you my life. That's what you wanted, right? And he tells him to kill him. We're enemies after all, right? And just that look on Thorfinn's face. It's like, he's like, this is all you wanted, right? You just wanted to kill me, so do it. Now's your chance. And Thorfinn's like, are you going to die? You. That line, you. Oh, he's like, are you going to die? So there's a part of Thorfinn that didn't think there's a part of him. There's a part of him that almost didn't think he could die. And it's not that Thorfinn didn't want him to die, because that's been his goal this entire series, right? But it's one of those things where Askeladd has seemed to Thorfinn like an immovable mountain. Like he keeps chipping away at it because it's ingrained in him. It's gotten on his nerves so much, but he's like, he just feels like he can't ever succeed in overpowering Askeladd. But he also is this big mountainous, larger than life character that will never not be there in his life. And so it's kind of like Stockholm syndrome, really. Thorfinn's got like Stockholm syndrome, where he's just gotten to this point where he just keeps coming back for more. He can't escape. And he's just like, well, you'll always be here. I'm always going to fight you, right? And so the fact that his world's getting changed and no, that's not the case, Askeladd's like, just hurry up. And he's like, there's no time left. And Thorkel's like, I just feel like Thorkel's the disapproving, disappointed uncle that's like, Thorfinn's not really going to kill him here now. That's not the warrior's way to do it. You're not just like a coyote picking off prey, right? And Knut's like, what the fudge? What? No. And then Thorfinn, are you trying to make a fool out of me, you bastard? And him grabbing him, he's like, it wasn't supposed to be like this. The duel to settle things between you and me wasn't supposed to be like this. And Askeladd's just like, he's like, I won't forgive you. Don't die on me. Get up and duel me right now. Oh, it's so sad. He's like, I'm the one who's supposed to defeat you. It's just like, Thorfinn's like, it's not supposed to be this way. He's like, I'm supposed to be the one to kill you so I can have closure. How can I have closure if you died? He's like, it'll never end. I'll be haunted by you and my father's death. And he's like, are you kidding me? Hurry up and stand up. He's like, this is why I hate kids. I love these, and Thorfinn just looks like so feral there. And then we see, he's like, how do you plan to live your life? And that's what gets Thorfinn. As he's saying there, he's like, in the future, after I die, how do you plan to live your life, Thorfinn? And that moment, because it's such a moment, because it's like, yeah, Askeladd's like, even if you killed me, what would you do then? He's like, what are you going to do after this? Like, you've always wanted to kill me. Well, now I'm dying. Where are you going to go? And I love that we have the bird flying over the open ocean. And that's kind of that's kind of how Thorfinn feels. He's like, Thorfinn has no clue where to go or what to do or what the best decision is. He has no guidance, no set in stone path after his objective is completed. And Askeladd's like, you really need to have been thinking about this whole time. He's like, because regardless of whether you killed me or not, I was going to die eventually. Then what are you going to do, Thorfinn? He's like, you can't just stay here and be consumed by this for the rest of your life. It's kind of like what we talked about in the last episode, in 22. And Thorfinn looks like he's about to cry. He's like, you haven't thought about it, right? And he's like, shut up. And he's like, move forward already. Don't stay and stuck in a damn boring place like this forever. Askeladd's final words to him, and telling him to move forward. He's like, don't stay in the past. I love how he phrased it. Stuck in a boring damn place like this forever. He's like, that's what I've been doing. He's like, Thorfinn, I've been stuck in this boring damn place forever until I met Canute and saw my purpose and figured out a future. He's like, don't wait until you're in your 50s for that to happen. He's like, go leave now and figure out your place. So yeah, this being the prologue makes total sense. That it's all to get Thorfinn to a place where he has to move forward. Now he doesn't have a choice. Askeladd's dead, so he has no choice to stay in the past. He has to he's either going to wallow in it, or he's going to die, or he's going to have to move forward. He's like, now you got to do something. You have no choice. He's like, go far ahead. Go beyond the world where Thor's went. He's like, your father went so far. Go beyond that. Go to Vinland, right? Go to Vinland. He's like, go past where your dad was going to go. He's like, your dad stopped there. You're Thor's son. Go. You can go further. And then he says, that is your real fight. He's like, yeah, this is the prologue. This was just the beginning of your battles. Your real fight is beyond what you do from here on. And Thorfinn's just like, I don't know. And then he dies. Become a true warrior. Son of Thor's. That being his final words, become a true warrior, and that being the last thing he ever said to Thorfinn. Oh my god. Oh my god. Ah! And yeah, Thorfinn doesn't know what to do. He's like, I don't know how to become a true warrior. He's like, I don't know where to start. He's like, I've been chased after this for so long. And yeah, and they drop, and Canute. I love that Canute makes himself drop the sword. Canute has to like pry the sword out of his own hands. Oh my god. And then he's like, Thorfinn, I won't ask you to forgive me. He was dealt this punishment because he went mad suddenly and committed a crime of murdering the king. However, I'm sure you don't feel like serving me now that this has happened. And he's like, I'll let you go. He's like, go wherever you want. And Thorfinn's like, I don't know where to go. He's like, what do I even do? He's like, my purpose in life is now gone. So what do I do? And I was like, is he gonna lunge at him? That's exactly what he does. He can't do it. And Canute's like, oh. And that look on his face. Thorfinn has never looked more sad and anguished. He's like, you tell me to move on, but you took away what was mine. Oh. And Thorkel's like, oh shit! He's like, nope! Oh. And that's cut where he goes after him. Thorkel's like, nope, I know my rabid nephew. And he just stops him and like gets him to the ground. Oh. He's a traitor. And Canute's like, no, don't kill him. I'm just like, I can't believe I shipped these two. Oh, it went from this whole ship has gone from acquaintances to lovers to enemies. Acquaintances to enemies. Oh my god, because yeah. And Canute understands. Canute, thank goodness, Canute understands. He's like, no, Thorfinn is not in a good place. He is beyond help right now. He's like, Thorfinn's a wild dog. It's fine. I'm okay. He's like, I'll decide what to do with him. And he's like, Thorkel, that's enough. Oh my god. They made Canute look so damn good in this. There's too many screenshots. Like, being stabbed is a small price to pay. He's like, Your Highness, you should have your wounds treated. I like that Floki, who looks like a damn Roblox character coming onto the scene here, is like, well, you should leave now and go have your wounds treated. We'll take care of Thorfinn and the others. And I like that he's like, let me handle the matters here. Let me take over the army in these matters. And Canute's like, excuse me? Like, did you not just see what happened? Like, we just changed powers. And I love that Canute, like, as soon as they're like, take him away, Canute's like, oh, you're not in charge. He's like, Floki. Wait a minute. He's like, now that the former king has passed, do you know who commander of the army in England is now? And I like the Floki's like, well, and he's like, what's wrong? Say it. Uh-huh. It's like, no. They're like, bitches, I'm king! And Floki, like, was trying to get him out of there before he figured it out. And I love that Canute just takes command. And he just jumps up on the stage. It's glorious. And he's saying, everyone hear me. In his decked out robes, the former king, His Highness King Swin, has passed. From this day forth, I, Canute, shall act as commander of the army and the ruler of England. And everybody bows to him. They're all like, damn, you killed Askeladd. You stopped it all. You got Thorkel under control. Oh my god. Now that the former king has passed, we're not going to fight Wales. Forget that. Y'all didn't like that idea anyway. I predict the remnants of the English army will revolt. We must prepare to handle that first. I'll provide further notice regarding your awards later. Oh my god, that's all. You're dismissed now. I love that he's going to have that scar, like, on his face from Thorfinn. And he's going to have that scar from it, and, like, the blood trickles down. It's like that was the price. But honestly, the scar is going to be to Canute's benefit, because it's going to make him look more threatening and imposing, right? It's going to make him look more like a king, more like a warrior. It's like a battle scar that he got from Thorfinn. So Thorfinn may have helped him in that regard. Oh, but I feel for our boy Thorfinn, because, and the thing of it is, Thorkel just lets him get taken away. Thorkel lets him get taken away. Like, we don't know what they're going to do with him. We still don't know what's going to happen to Thorfinn. Like Thorkel is staying back with Canute to watch over Canute, right? Because he understands what's going on. But we don't know, like, what will happen to Thorfinn. Did he lose his father's blade? If he did lose his father's blade and it fell to the ground, I'm going to say that if he does lose the blade, that's his dad, and it falls to the ground, that I'm going to say that Canute or Thorkel or Leif is going to pick it up and eventually give it back to him. But we don't know what happened to Thorfinn. We don't know what their order was. Like, what was Canute's order? Because there's Askeladd there on the ground dead, and Thorfinn's just like, hey. And then Canute's just like, Canute just views him as a lost cause. And Thorkel's just like, well, damn it, what do we do? Like, they're just trying to hold him back. And Thorkel's like, and he turns from him too! So it's like, I feel kind of bad for Thorfinn in this moment, because his own uncle and Canute, they turn their back on him. They're like, you're just a rabid dog. We can't do anything with you, can we? Oh. It's just, and you can't blame him for doing it, but at the same time, I feel bad for Thorfinn, because it's like his whole world, everything he's built up this whole season is just gone. And he's fighting to get back to Askeladd. Oh man, and that shot, leaving with that shot of him, like, screaming for him. And he drops the sword, drops the knife. And as he drops it, they give us the preview for season 2, right? As they drop it, it shows, like, everything that's led up to this point. Like, all of the different things with Thorfinn. Everything leading up to that knife. And then we see the reflection in the blade of his face. Is like life flashing before him. Oh. And it falls, and then we get the preview for season 2, right? We get the mountains. We get these people scaling the mountain areas. These two figures, we don't know who they are. There's a blonde kid and an old man. They'll be in the second season somehow. Don't know them. We go to this sandy, duney area where somebody's on a beach drawing runes. Drawing these runes, this girl, seemingly. Don't know her. Or him. Could be a guy. And then we go out onto the sea. I thought this was Leif at first, because it looks like Leif's ship, right? It looks like Leif's ship. And so we see, like, it looks like there could be people, like, maybe slaves on the ship. But then there was somebody with blonde hair, right? There's somebody with blonde hair sitting there and then looking out to this guy that's going out. I thought it was Thorfinn, like, with the blonde hair looking out at this redhead, this ginger man looking out on the ship. I thought that maybe Thorfinn was on the ship. And that may be the case. But we see this man who looks like he's very saintly looking. He's got red hair and gray eyes, and he looks hot and saintly. All right. We'll see who he is. I'm all aboard his character already. Don't even know anything about him. And then it's on the ship on the sea. And that's it. Oh. It's the best episode of the series. It's the best episode. And of course it's the last one. But what a high. What a high to go off on this. So yeah, we don't know what's going to happen to Thorfinn. They're going to keep that completely hidden until the next season. I'm assuming that Floki is staying by Canut's side, as well as Thorkel. I'm assuming Floki's gonna be mad that Thorkel is probably gonna put that Canute is probably gonna put Thorkel in charge. We'll see. I don't know though. He may just order Floki around. As much as Thorkel seems to be staying by Canut's side out of respect for Canute and Askeladd, in the same token, I don't see Thorkel as taking Floki's place, because Thorkel, that seems like too much order for him. He's a little bit more chaotic in that regard, so maybe not. But and then Leif. Did Leif just have to leave Thorfinn? Did he stick around to take him away? Did they just knock Thorfinn out and stick him on a boat? I wouldn't be surprised if the boat with the red-haired man, if they knocked Thorfinn out and he got stuck on that boat and they shipped him off. Wouldn't be surprised. Although, if they shipped Thorfinn off into slavery, that is really a low blow from Canute and Thorkel to be that's your nephew, and you just were can't do anything with him. And Canute being I don't know what to do with you, kid. I don't know. I would kind of feel bad and feel a little upset at Canute and Thorkel. They just let Thorfinn go. But at this point, Thorfinn's you can't reason with him. What do you do? At least now Thorfinn has no choice but to grow. He has no choice. He's either going to stay stagnant and die probably, or he's going to have to grow and develop as a character. It's just the sad thing is we had to get rid of a colossal protagonist so that our stagnant protagonist could get some development. Because Askeladd was a colossal protagonist. If you don't know what that is, it's a term in literature. It's a Shakespearean term that Shakespeare kind of coined by having these characters that are larger than life and they kind of take center stage in a story. And Askeladd was one of those characters, right? He was one of those characters that took center stage. And the only way for our stagnant protagonist to be able to get up and walk and move forward is for Askeladd to die, because that was the ultimate thing holding Thorfinn back. Oh my god. So what's Thorfinn going to do? What's going to happen to him? Where's Canute and them go from here? So many questions! I'm not going to watch the trailer, though. I decided this long ago that a lot of people on Patreon were saying that the trailer had too many spoiler images for the series. I'm not going to go that route. I want to go in completely blind for season 2 and just start it as fresh as possible. But I'll tell you what, starting with episode 1 of season 2, I'm going to have a glass of wine and we are going to toast the hell out of Askeladd. I mean, we're not toasting Swin. He was a sly old fox. We're not toasting him, but we're going to toast the hell out of Askeladd for dying for our protagonist to move forward. Yeah, we're definitely going to have a wine night when season 2 starts and toast our dear Askeladd, because what an awesome antagonist. So layered, so complicated, but he stayed in character till the end and stuck by his laurels and went out in the most badass way possible and put on quite a show. I have a feeling we're going to talk a lot about him in the comments, and there's going to be a lot of comments to talk about him when we start season 2, episode 1. So that's exciting. So I'm excited to hear your comments down below. Please no season 2 or manga spoilers. I want to go in blind. None of those. But we can talk about Askeladd in the comments. We can talk about him, and then whatever comments I get from episodes 23 and 24 that I see need to be addressed, we'll talk about them over a glass of wine when we start season 2, episode 1. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. But yeah. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yes, I will be back in January of 2023 with season 2, episode 1 of Vinland Saga. In the meantime, I hope you all enjoy the other reactions. Bye.